But singing jingles was, people say, what did you sing? You can't remember when you sing 6 hours a day. But that puts you around the English-speaking world, Australia, Canada, everywhere. So people hear you. They don't know who you are. But on a trip down the Danube a few years ago, I met someone who had been in early radio and bought Tanner jingles and said, oh yes, I know what I know your voice. They always said it's that woman in Memphis or that girl in Memphis at that time.
And so these were recorded jingles.
Right,
Did you do
correct.
any live? Because I know right at that time of switching over, any live
Yes.
advertisements or anything like that?
Some of it was live, and that's always tricky. And then you realize that times change and you don't have to do that. That's a little dichotomy of saying at Sun we did voiceovers, but at Jingles we don't. I mean, we do background work, but why can't they do that when you sing jingles? And I kept saying, why can't the band put their part on and then we'll come in and do it? So they started doing that.
Okay. That's really interesting. I know that they ran some, and I'm just interested here, did you ever do much work at the Hotel Chiska with that?
A lot at the Chiska, the Peabody, all kinds of gigs, New Year's Eve gigs with Bill. He did a group called the Yuletide Revelers. We did a lot of fraternity, sorority parties, and a lot of nice places at that time, because you weren't singing at clubs, except when my husband was in the Army, and he was in the 3rd Army Band, and I was with the dance band and sang with them, so you sing at clubs then. But the rest of it is mainly singing at, like I say, fraternity, sorority, private parties, weddings.
What type of thing were you singing for these?
Oh, the big band, things like Summertime, Over the Rainbow, things I still sing now. Stormy Weather, There Will Never Be Another You, just anything, just to sing. I had a book and I wrote down all my keys and the piano players would play it, and jazz musicians, as you know, play anything. And so you just go on a gig and say, I'm going to do this. We also did jazz shows around town with a former DJ named Fred Cook, who was very well known. And we did that, and we sang, when it was not being done, we did a jazz concert at Lemoyne-Owen College in the 60s. And I was always very proud of doing that.
That's wonderful. So it seems like and you may not see this like this, and this is an interesting thing to me, your gigging life might be classified more as a jazz musician, but your session work is more, you were part of early rock and roll and soul music and things like that.
It was sitting right there in the middle of Sun, in the middle of the early rock and roll, post Elvis, but still you have all the wonderful people that came through Sun. And people that I didn't meet later. I was singing jingles, Bill Justice left, and he moved to California, and so times change and evolve, but I was singing 6 hours a day, and there was a local television show called Good Morning from Memphis, so I sang 3 mornings there. So it was a life of lot of singing, and you're younger and you don't get much sleep, because you do gigs at night too, and you sing jingles all day.
Did it seem like that at Sun and at Stax, something new? Because we look back on it and say, wow, something new happened.
Yeah,
Did it seem like that at the time, or was it just another part of being a professional musician in town?
I felt that when I was there, it's that innate feeling that something's going on here. These people could move on and be famous, but I thought that I could do it, and I thought I could sing with anybody, and never had any aspirations to be a rock and roll singer. I didn't sing that type music. But to back all those people up, I felt it more at Sun than I did at Stax. Sun has an energy. I can go in there now and feel just like I did then. You know you're backing up people that are going to be well known one day. But a lot of people hadn't heard of, well, they had heard of Johnny Cash, but he hadn't He wasn't what he became, and Charlie Rich, and sang behind, I thought, a very good singer named Harold Dorman. High on a Mountain of Love. Johnny Rivers covered that later. But there was a special feeling at Sun. I can see where the talent came out of there, but you have to attribute that to Sam Phillips and Bill Justice.
How was it? What was it like? How did Sam run a session? What was it like working with
He
him?
pretty much stayed out of it. He'd have his opinion, but he would go with Bill and say, no, that's not what I want, or whatever. And but it's you knew he was bottom line, but he was so kind and so nice you never felt he was telling you what to do. He could suggest it in a way, and Bill would relay it to us, and we would change anything he wanted changed.